What is up, everybody? Good morning. We're getting after it early. It's the Run Your Mouth podcast. We're here, and I'm just going to talk a bunch and say absolutely nothing so that some people can show up into the chat. Let me know if my sound's working, because sadly, as technology gets better, everything just gets harder to use. It's like, I guess, master chefs. You can give them simple foods. You can give them a nice little piece of steak. You can give them a single pan, and that's all they need. They don't need nothing more. And then other people, they start getting all fancy with all sorts of equipment, and then you find out that you don't know what the fuck you're doing. So anyways, for some reason, my Tascam Mixcast 4, Tascam people, if you're out there, you're listening to this, you went the way of Optimum, you decided to protest the Run Your Mouth podcast with broken equipment that suddenly just stopped syncing with your computer, you do entire episodes with no sound, and then have to go back to your old Zoom thing, only to find out that, wait, maybe this might be the crispiest I ever sound. Maybe I just don't spend enough time in here just experimenting with the levels, and then you just got to leave it. You just got to leave it. Once you get things the way you want it, you just got to fucking leave it. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Every time I'm here, what I end up doing is I take all the equipment on the road with me, and then I keep pretending like I'm going to get myself a second set of equipment, and then every week I don't. And then I go on the road, and I have to pack everything up, and then I got to bring it to a place, and then I got to come home and reset it all up again, and then every single time I do, I go, I'm never going to do that again. And then guess what? I keep doing it again, and then equipment keeps getting broken, keeps going missing. But you know what? It's okay, because we've got the backing of the good people of sheathunderwear.com. So everyone right now, if you want me to be able to continue to travel the globe, losing equipment, breaking equipment, and being mostly unsure about how any of this stuff actually works, and just, but no, this is a professional broadcast. It's the producer man's fault. The guy who sits over there and keeps fucking with my gear every time I leave here. Actually sleeps here when I go out. And then he just decides to tweak with things. He thinks he can make improvements, and then I come back and everything's all fucking screwy. All right, seems like people are in the chat and things are working, so we can actually get into some topics. But seriously, sheathunderwear.com, use promo code RYM. You're going to get yourself 20% off. I'm hoping to go skiing this weekend. Actually, we're getting 12 inches, which is what you want, a black man's wiener amount of fresh snow when you go skiing. But now I'm actually a little bit concerned about my, I may drive to a mountain. I may not. I got this gig in New Hampshire. For some reason, every single time I go to New Hampshire, there's some torrential, crazy snowstorm, and then I have to drive through it and debate whether or not I'm going to die and if I should bail on this gig. I've yet to bail on a gig. I don't know how bad the weather would have to be that I wouldn't stomach through it. But anyways, man, we're really meandering here. You know what? I'm going to give this a fresh start, and I'm actually going to edit for the podcast, which I've never done. I've never once in post been like, hey, the fumbling start was so bad that we're just going to restart the thing and give it an edit. But that's the beauty of going live. So why don't we just... What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Run Your Mouth podcast. This is definitely the beginning of the show, and nothing happened before it. Today's episode is brought to you by sheathunderwear.com. The most comfortable underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. I'm going skiing tomorrow. I'm going to be wearing my sheaths because I got the long johns. You want everything staying in place. You want that thing to be moisture wicking. That way you don't end up freezing your nuts off. You don't want all that moisture collecting in your shitty cotton underwear, and then you get out there and it's freezing, and now all of a sudden you got a frozen wiener. And then you got to go in where all these families are sitting down and they're just trying to eat some breakfast. They're just trying to eat some overpriced things from the little cafeteria room. And then you're saddling up to the fire and pulling out your little putty dick to try and warm it up in front of kids. You don't want to be in that situation. And that's the kind of things that can happen if you don't invest in good underwear and you end up with a frozen penis. So don't have a frozen penis. Get yourself good quality moisture wicking underwear so that when you go skiing, you don't have to worry about your dick freezing over. That's promo code RYM. sheathunderwear.com. RYM, you get yourself 20% off. All right, let's get into some topics. We got big things going on today. So here, I will let you guys know what we're going to be covering today. We can pretend like we got the news drop thing, because sadly my Tascam Mixcast 4 is broken. So let's just pretend. With Lori Lightfoot losing her re-election campaign, who now has the biggest dick in Chicago? What do you think her next job's going to be? Wait, if you're just a big, giant human cockroach, what is your next job? All right. Why every country is joining NATO, and why artificial sweeteners will cause people around you to drop like they've been hit by lightning. Spontaneous death all over the place. Things that you've consumed your whole life, you got to be more concerned about them now than ever. Eli Lilly is dropping its prices for insulin, and why more inner-city kids can now afford to go diabetic. Is Alex Murdaugh definitive proof that killing your own wife and kids isn't a winning strategy for getting sympathy from clients, or does this strategy just require better execution? Did you guys see OJ on Twitter last night weighing in on why he thought Murdaugh was innocent? How does OJ not have his own show? Can we just, like, CNN's rebranding, can they just make OJ the 8 p.m. lead-in news anchor? I mean, the news, nobody trusts the news anyways, so you might as well, let's just, I would tune into the news every night if it was OJ and they just played it straight. No jokes, no irony, because he's got full confidence in himself and that the world needs to hear his opinion on any topic, including murder trials. And who would be a bigger expert on murder trials than O.J. Simpson? But wouldn't that be great if he was the new nightly news, 9 p.m.? That would get some ratings. That's how we save CNN. All right, let's continue. Now that we've confirmed the lab leak theory, when can we start pointing fingers at the guy Fauci actually paid to leak it? And then lastly, with Biden recently criticized for laughing about a fentanyl overdose, has his dementia gotten worse, or is he spending too much time around Kamala Harris? Seems like he's trying to work the Kamala Harris strategy. They sat down, they had a meeting, they're like, listen, we know that you're having a tough time. I can see it out there. I can see you fumbling and mumbling, but let me help you out. Whenever you're not sure about something, just repeat yourself and laugh. You repeat yourself and laugh, you always look like a winner. It's the Kamala Harris way. How do you think I became vice president? I laughed at awkward times. I've laughed my way all the way to the top. All right. First story of the day. We got Biden. He's claiming he's going to be running for re-election. Not just Biden, but Dr. Biden, his wife. You know, the lady, the doctor. And since she's a doctor, you know that she must be really smart because we respect scientists and doctors. And, you know, she's got a doctor title, so that lady must really know what she's talking about. And so Dr. Biden, she's also endorsing, and she's a medical doctor, so she can know whether or not Joe should be running again. So the Biden family, they're pot committed. They're saying that they're going to run again. And we're starting to see some insights into what Joe Biden's campaign strategy might be. After this 4 years of an incredible presidency, how is he going to get back out there and convince the American people that they should re-elect him to office? So here's an article. Biden gearing up for re-election bid, urges Democrats to tout accomplishments. He's basically just going to go up there and go, yeah, we did the thing. Yeah, you know, the thing that we did. And you're welcome for it. So that was me. We got it done. It's already done, so I can keep getting things done. We did it. And then here, you guys think I'm kidding. You guys think that I'm kidding and I'm just poking fun? But this is literally the guy's election strategy. Let's give it a read. President Biden urged Democratic lawmakers on Wednesday to talk more about what the party has accomplished in the last 2 years as he gears up for his potential re-election bid. Folks, y'all know how much we've gotten done, but a lot of the country still doesn't know, he said at the House Democratic Caucus issue, blah, 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 blah. Mr. Biden touted the passage of the American Rescue Plan, the Infrastructure Bill, the CHIPS and Science Pact, the PACT Out, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the Respect for Marriage Act. If we did nothing but implement what we've already passed and let people know who did it for them, we win, he said. We're way beyond that. It's not just about winning. It almost gets confusing. The confidence of this man. Maybe I would do better in my sales job if I could have a little bit of Joe Biden's dementia, where he's just like, we can just get out there and go, oh, we did it. Yeah, it's all good now. What are you talking about, man? Nobody's saying prices are higher. Nobody's saying we're in war with Russia. Nobody's saying the border's open. It's all fixed, man. What are you talking about? I already got it done. It's finished. We're good. It'll keep being good. And here we go. This is, you can hear it from his own mouth.
I was telling the guys backstage, you know, if we did nothing but implement what we've already passed and let the people know who did it for them, we win. And folks, y'all know how much we've gotten done, but a lot of the country still doesn't know it. That's why the big job in front of us is
the country's so stupid, they can't realize that I've already fixed the high prices. I've already gotten them into a job. I've hand-selected wives for them. border secure, your insurance is paid for. People don't realize everything's already perfectly good and fixed, and I can just continue to keep it that way. All right, here's another Biden video. Just in case you thought that this guy still had the stones to get out there, run another campaign, here's Biden at his best.
If they have to pay out $159 billion less.
Look at that look right there, where he rolls his eyes to the side. That is the one time you've ever seen an honest face from Joe Biden where he's just, I'm too old for this shit. Am I really supposed to be continuing to try and fumble through these things? How much longer do I have to stay in this job before my China check clears and the government just agrees not to prosecute me?
Less for prescription drugs, then it reduces the deficit. If they have to,
all right, so let's take a look at some
if they have to pay out 150
Biden policy agendas. Big news story this past week is we got the Supreme Court, and they're taking a look at student debt. And you would think student debt would be a pretty simple thing here. Kids took on debt, they got to pay it back. And if they were defrauded into taking on debt that they couldn't possibly afford to pay back, then we better hold people criminally responsible for that fraud that they perpetrated onto these students. Every single person in a sales job at a college convincing these kids to take on debt, every single politician that made more funds available to these colleges so that kids could take on even more debt, every single person that was out there pretending like they were helping these kids by making more money available just so colleges could increase their costs and saddle kids with even more debt. And that should be the conversation that we're having, is who made more funds available, who defrauded kids out of their money, who decided that getting degrees and all sorts of fucking stupidity was going to be helpful to kids, and let's start clawing back some funds. That's what we should be doing. If you wanted to have and if there was no fraud involved in these kids taking on loans, well then I guess they owe money. That's kind of the way it goes. And then you would have a further question of, I guess, is Biden allowed to just wave a wand and say, hey, you're not going to have to pay that back? And if we're going to have a debt jubilee, why is it going to be for student loans? Why don't we just let people off on their houses? Why don't we just let people off on their medical bills? Why don't we just see who's the poorest amongst us, or who went on the biggest shopping spree? Maybe whoever's just put the most money on their card, that's the person who should just get off. You got the biggest, you got the most purses in your house, or maybe the people that fucked up on PPE loans thought it was a good idea to go take Uncle Sam's money and buy themselves a Lamborghini. Well, they went the biggest and the furthest with their money spending. So maybe that's really who we should be helping out, because whoever took on the most debt is probably the biggest idiot and they probably need the most help. So let's just look and see who's got the biggest and most credit card debt, because after all, our economy is fueled by spending. So if there's someone out there and they're spending the most money, right, they're doing the most for all of us. They're doing their part to keep the cash flowing around in this circular system, and they're out there, and even at their own peril of taking on debt, they're putting more money into the system to benefit all of us. And so they're both the most charitable and the dumbest. So if there's anybody that we got to help out, it would be those people, right? Forget these student loan kids. I mean, those were the sensible ones that got degrees in women's rights and in history and other topics that you can't do much other than go teach other people about. So anyways, I was reading just a little bit about what the Supreme Court was actually weighing in on, and it's incredible how you can have rational conversation over here about, hey, is it fair for Joe Biden to be wiping out student debt? And then crazy conversation over here of legal technicalities that make zero sense. So just to give you guys the scope, and nobody's that good at reporting on these things because I read everything. No one's giving clean write-ups here. Believe me, I've done my reading here. I think a couple weeks ago we talked about, so it's the first question is whether or not the states that actually got the case to the Supreme Court have standing, because whether or not they have damages. All right, that's one interesting aspect. So in other words, I guess the Supreme Court could rule against this specific case, but then people who are actually hurt by the law, if they can manage to get their case in front of the Supreme Court, then, in other words, Biden's policy could be bad and it could be unfair, but people that are actually damaged by it would have to be the ones to bring the case to the Supreme Court. I believe that is one element. And then I believe that you got a secondary element here, which is generally speaking executive action and what needs to be determined by Congress. And that's part of what is being argued here as well. And this could be a general win for rolling back executive action from the president. I'm giving you guys like kind of the loose of what I picked up from this. Here was a line that I highlighted. I don't remember why I highlighted it. It was from the Wall Street Journal opinion section. But this is enter Miss the Pierogi lady. Scavenging for constitutional mouseholes, she argued that the major questions doctrine shouldn't apply in the same way to benefits programs, since that kind of executive action doesn't impose any corresponding cost to individual liberty interests. Hey, this shit is so technical and confusing. I don't remember why I underlined that. Maybe the word liberty was there. I was like, I'm a libertarian. Let's highlight that. Maybe the audience will like that. I'll give it a nice shiny line. I'll make it look like I did my homework. This is showing up to class, making it look like you did your homework. You selected a specific article on the topic, you highlighted a specific line, and then you showed up to class. You're like, yeah, I don't know why I highlighted that, but that's cool that I highlighted it. I took the time to say this is the important piece from all the coverage that happened on the story, and I don't know why. Since that kind of executive action doesn't impose any corresponding cost to individual liberty interests. I don't know. I don't know why. All right. So this is what Biden had to say in defense of him getting rid of Supreme Court debt. The administration argues that the program is tailored to help Americans who could be left worse off by the pandemic. So they're getting rid of student loan debt because we had this horrible pandemic, and there are students who could be left worse off. He's not even sure. He's not even sure if this policy directly helps people that were affected by the pandemic. And he's not even sure that this is the most direct route to help people that were harmed by the pandemic. I mean, if this is a pandemic thing and we're just looking to help pandemic people, firstly, why wasn't that already taken care of in the billions of dollars that was spent in PPP loans and other bailouts and sending people checks directly to their house? And isn't there a more direct route for helping people that were affected by the pandemic? I mean, if this is just about affecting people that were affected by the pandemic, I would figure that there's got to be a better approach than getting rid of kids' student loan debt. I mean, we all know what this is about. People want to buy some votes. They're getting out there. They're realizing we're not giving enough free stuff to the people that might vote us into office. We haven't ransacked the public purse enough, or we've given it too much to institutions. Now we got to go direct to the consumers, and we got to give them something tangible. They've already got their health insurance. They're seeing all these prices going up. And what happens when you put money back into these kids' pockets? You know what's going to happen? Here's the damages. Here's the damages that take place to other individuals. I don't know who's actually able to bring this lawsuit and what claims they're making about the damages that don't exist. I'll tell you the damages. The damages are to people like me that are looking for higher quality vaginas in their lives. I mean, I'm pulling high quality vagina. I like high quality vagina, but I just want more high quality vagina. And these kids, they went off to college. They enjoyed all the vaginas. They were reckless. They were there. They're spending to go to summer camp. They're partying every night. They're taking classes that they got no stress in their life because they're not thinking about jobs. They're just thinking about women's studies or whatever other nonsense that they're studying. They're enjoying it. They're feeling like they are the most important thing in the universe because they're learning these liberal principles about fairness, equity, and otherwise. They're partying at night. They're having a good old time. And then all of a sudden they turn around and they realize, oh, I got this debt. Maybe that wasn't the best decision. And then some of these people, they start going into the world. And then all of a sudden people like me who wear the same clothes. I've owned this shirt for probably 15 years. This crappy hat, I don't know, I probably bought it in a gas station. And then all of a sudden women start looking at men like me and they go, oh, I bet this guy's debt free. I bet this sensible individual might actually be able to get me a house. And what are we going to do? We're just going to re-put all these fucking idiots back into the marketplace? Because then they're the winners. They're the winners for taking on debt that they can't pay back. All of a sudden, they're back out there. They're paying for fancy meals. They're paying for little yacht trips that you can take pictures on your Instagram. And that's a winning strategy. Whatever money you can spend in the present, government might bail you out in the future. So you might as well hang out with the person who's going to take on as much debt as possible. That's a winner. This guy knows how to play the game the best way. And so here's what we're going to have. I mean, you talk about that everyone can't afford shit. Prices are going up. And so what? You're going to put money back into these people's pockets so that they can go out and buy homes or engage in other activity. You're just going to drive up more costs. Understand that the college costs went up because you put too much more money into the system. And so now, I mean, I guess you're going to allow these people to keep more of their money, but it's still inflationary. I guess it's not money printing, but it seems inflationary to me, and it seems not fair. And it seems to me like if you're going to roll back the debts of these people, some people should be held accountable for the fraud that they perpetrated. I don't understand how those two things shouldn't be happening at the same time. All right, this is Justice Sonia Sotomayor. This is from the Wall Street Journal. She noted that tens of millions of people would benefit from debt forgiveness. So that's why we should do it, because people will benefit. Well, then let's just get rid of all debt. Let's just walk around the country and see who needs help and then just help them at any cost, in any capacity whatsoever. There doesn't need to be a law about who or shouldn't be helped. If it's just about helping people, I mean, why even in this country? You can go to any country. Just help everybody all the time. Is that what's in the Constitution? Just steal from the people that have money, give it to the people that don't, because if somebody needs to be helped, then that this is the highest of our legal minds about addressing the issue is just, well, there is a person that we can help here. Is that really the basis by which you make every decision? Doesn't matter what court case. I'm sure in every case there's a winner and a loser, so somebody's being helped. How do you possibly ever make a decision on the Supreme Court about who's right and who's wrong from a legal perspective if you're just going by, well, is there someone that we can help here? That seems like a tough way to be making decisions. At all time, you're just living with the fact that somebody lost and you're disappointing somebody. Justice Sonia Sotomayor noted that tens of millions of people would benefit from debt forgiveness. Many of them don't have assets sufficient to bail them out after the pandemic, she said. Addressing James Campbell, the Nebraska Solicitor General representing the state plaintiffs, she said, and what you're saying is now we're going to give the judges the right to decide how much aid to give them rather than the Secretary of Education. Nonsense. Okay. Chief Justice Roberts highlighted the hardship that fell on those who hadn't taken on student debt. Imagine, he said, a high school graduate who borrowed money to set up a lawn care business with a classmate, instead went to college on a student loan. So you get a kid, which is true. His lifetime earnings on paper are going to be less because he decided to go directly into working instead of going to school. And then you have another kid that went to school. They each made decisions based off the fact that school costs money. And now we're just going to make that school that kid went to free? That's not fair. All right, and then this was from Elizabeth Warren. I enjoyed this tweet. Elizabeth Warren saying nearly 90% of the benefits from President Biden's student debt cancellation are slated to go to people making less than $75,000 a year. All right, so firstly, off the bat, nearly 90% of the benefits, that's nearly. That doesn't mean all of it. It just means nearly, but that means 10% of the benefits of this program, according to your own admission, are going to be going to people that don't need it. And then that $75,000 a year figure is an odd number to have picked, specifically because I believe the average income in this country is $55,000 a year. So you're telling me that a substantial number already 10% of the people probably shouldn't be helped. And now we're going to be helping people who are already making more than the average income in this country and have the potential for more earnings, because you might be looking at kids that are within 5 to 10 years of being out of college, or maybe even in the first 20 years of being out of college, in careers that are continue to make them increasingly more money. And so even these people that are doing better than the average person in America, they're the ones that we need to help. So understand that there's already a cherry-picked figure of $75K, which doesn't even make sense because that's above the average income in this country. And you're talking about people that even in a year from now could be making double. Think about how much your salary increases in the first 5 to 10 years of whatever career you're working, because you have no idea what you're doing. And employers also just mostly take advantage of you because you don't realize the leverage that you have or your ability to master specific tasks at your career, and then either go out on your own, sell somebody else on your skill sets, take new jobs. You advance. At some point, you become management, and then you just get to make sure that other people are working their jobs. All right, let's continue. That's what it looks like to make a government work for the working class and the middle class, by helping individuals who knowingly took on debt and also have the opportunity to earn greater incomes in the future because of the education, that little signal that they got that allows, that makes them employable. There you go. That's the best spin. Elizabeth Warren hitting Twitter, trying to rally the troops, trying to sum things down as to why you should support this. It's because you've got people that are earning above the average income in this country and might be earning even more in the future, but we need to give them a handout because that's what it means to help the middle class. All right, let's take a couple of comments here, and then we're going to get back into the show. Senior Rex extraordinaire. In a university, you get quality badge. I went to community college and was issued a Fifi with my books. I don't even know what Fifi books are, but that's okay. Eric John, pizza artist. The funny thing is all the feminist posturing by college beta males is done in order to get laid. That is true. Eric John, where's your bakery when I'm out on Sunday? Well, actually, I'm not going to work on that trip because I'm flying in early in the morning from Steamboat. I'm getting on like a 5 a.m. flight or a 6 a.m. flight, flying into JFK, then getting into my car and driving to Providence to do the Sunday shows because I don't want to miss a live part of the Prom podcast. But Friday, Saturday, you got Davey Smith, BK Chris, and that's all I got on that. All right, next topic. Oh, this was a random one. We're going to cover that another time. Congress moves to block investment rule, setting up veto fight. All right, so you would think if you're sitting down with your retirement person, and or maybe you're not even sitting down with your retirement person. You pay into your pension every year. You've got people that are supposed to be overseeing your money, picking asset managers who are then meeting with the people, deciding what funds that they're going to put their money into. You would think that these people would have one thing in mind when they're spending your money, which is, are you going to have earnings that you're going to be able to afford retirement? If I'm seeing a doctor, I want the guy to be concerned with my health. If I'm seeing a money manager, I want that guy to be concerned with my money. That's it. If I wanted to make charitable contributions with my money and not have it for retirement, I can choose to use my money in that way. If I want to go make donations to windmills, I want to go make donations to little kids' funds, I want to go make donations to Africa. There are all sorts of charitable things that I could choose to do with my money. But if I'm looking, and I might even decide to make those decisions, or you people, I'm not that charitable, but you people might be nicer than I am. You might get your income every single month. You might tithe it off. You give your 10% to charity. And then you look at it and you go, all right, I'm going to put this amount in for retirement. Maybe you people actually sit down and you're actually planning for retirement. I don't make any plans whatsoever. I put my money in sandwiches and I eat good lunch. That's what I do. But maybe you people, you're more forward looking than I am. You've got kids. By the way, kids, that's the winning strategy for retirement. Even if you're not that good to them, you just got to be good enough to them that they'll be good to you later. Or you got to have good enough skills. Or maybe you just move into their house. Maybe like you start getting dementia, and then you just move into their house, and then like they're stuck with you. That's the real reason why people have kids. You think your parents were nice to you? You were an investment. That's all you were. It's a financial transaction. They invest in you now, and then you hopefully get suckered into taking care of them later. That's the way that it goes. Unless you're one of the rare individuals who actually makes enough money to pay for retirement or pay for their health care in old age. Or actually the winning strategy is you got to get rid of all your assets 5 years before you lose your shit so that Medicaid covers everything. These are Jew scams, people. You want to make sure you're prepared for retirement. You got to sit down with your local Jew and figure out some good Jew scams. Or you could be like me and just not make any arrangements whatsoever. But here's how you afford to make no arrangements in your life whatsoever. You don't have... Well, that's not even true. I'm playing the long game here. I figure I keep throwing out these run your mouths. I become the greatest broadcaster out of a living room of all time. I keep working on these funny jokes. I keep getting up there and I tell more and more jokes. Then hopefully I make real money that gets me over the hump of my Jew stress of not having money to make real decisions in life. And then women just start coming out of the woods because they ran to the woods when they realized that all other men had too much student loan debts and couldn't afford anything. And they realized that they were going to be saddled in lifestyles where nothing could be afforded to them. So they ran to the woods and just decided now that they should start foraging. But then when they see like 5 or 6 years from now how much money I'm making with my dumb jokes and my living room broadcast, they come back out of the woods and they all beg to be my wife, and then I can afford to have a family. But until all of those things happen, between now and that point in time, I don't do anything intelligent with my money. I just let it sit in the bank and wait for hopefully my accountant to actually get my taxes done so that I can hand it over to the government. And between now and when I actually get that done, I basically lose money to inflation and interest owed to the government on the money that I need to be paid. So that's my current financial strategy is ignore everything that you're supposed to do with money, leave it in the bank and lose money to inflation and then owe the money to other people in interest. And then just continue working really hard to accumulate more money that will get lost due to your own laziness. And all right, that turned too personal at the end. We don't need to be delving into my personal finances. We're trying to talk about how Biden's ruining the country and not about what I'm doing with my money. What I do with my money is that's not what this show is about. This show is about how other people are fucking up, and I can recognize it because I see fuck-ups. I can see it. All right, here we go. So you got this policy. You're this is what we were trying to talk about. You're just trying to save for retirement. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to have a guy who's going to make good decisions with your money. And so Biden comes around and he goes, it's not a conflict of interest if the guy who you're giving the money to, who's supposed to be helping you with your retirement, instead of making decisions around returns, is going to make decisions around ESG. So if he decides to invest in a windmill that makes you no money, you don't get to sue that guy, or you don't get to go, hey, why the fuck did you blow my retirement savings on a windmill? Well, because he gets to go, well, that was the laws of the United States of America that I get to make windmill-based decisions. Now, what's the bigger story with all the ESG scores? They all want to fucking, because these people, they work off Ponzi schemes. And so if you force all the money into something that doesn't actually make money, then it starts looking like it's making money because everyone's investing there. Oh, look at us. The returns are up on Windmill Corporation of America because every single pension fund is forced to put, it's like the dollar. We're all forced to have the dollar, and so the dollar has some value. If all the money is forced into the Windmill Corporation of America, it doesn't need to have any returns because everyone's buying this stock. All right. So in order to try and get the ESG score racket going, you got money managers, and they're like, well, I'm supposed to make returns for my clients. That's what my job is supposed to be. And so the president comes around and he goes, no, you don't have to make returns for anybody. If you just consider the fact that this is a windmill, or you just consider the fact that this company might promote women, you can have a company that promotes women. So they're the most ESG compliant. That's all they do. All they do is promote women and make no profits. It could be called the All Women No Profits Corporation of America. And that's all they do is promote women. You're like, well, what do you guys do here? And they're like, well, we promote women. And you're like, yeah, but what do the women do at the job? And like, well, they promote more women. And then what do those women do once they're promoted? Well, they find women and they promote them. Well, you can invest in that company if you're an asset manager. You could bet the whole house on that. No one's going to come after you. You did your civic duty as an asset manager in the world of ESG scores by promoting the women that were promoting the women. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start the Plant Trees Fund of America. It'll be negative returns of at least 2% a year, which is, so we're basically, you'll have losses on par with inflation. It's actually the inflation-matched charitable tree fund where we guarantee you losses equal to what you would lose in inflation so that you can lose your money's value at double the current speed. But hey, we'll be planting some trees. And probably not even in the most efficient way. There'll probably be more efficient ways to get trees planted, but we're committed to negative returns in the name of ESG scores. And by the way, we'll throw this in. We'll get the occasional picture from someone out in Africa with a smile because we gave them, like a lollipop or something. And so you get to feel good when you see that picture as well. All right, and then this was another random highlight. We'll see if there's anything to this highlight. It might just be a thing that I read, and then there was no reason why I read it, but let's give it a read. Congress on Wednesday cleared a measure to block a Labor Department rule that allows retirement plan managers to incorporate climate and social considerations into investment decisions. Setting up a veto fight with President Biden over an otherwise obscure regulation has become a flashpoint in the culture wars. Skipping ahead. The rule in question, which was updated in December, allows retirement funds to consider climate change and other factors when choosing their investments. All right, I think I already covered that. Maybe I don't need to highlight things. I feel good when I'm doing it. I'm like, wow, this is really going to go over well. All right, let's take a couple comments. But before we do, let's take a moment and plug once again sheathunderwear.com. You want to be able to walk in tight quarters like this, shift around, do something close to the Biden shuffle without your nuts flopping all over the place, you're going to need sheathunderwear.com. Use promo code RYM. You get yourself 20% off. Eric John Pizza Art, Johnston, Rhode Island. Don't worry. I'm bringing you whatever you want to the green room. Hell yeah. We got sandwiches that will change your life. House bread made fresh daily. Best cold cuts, house-made eggplant and meatballs. You guys will be well fed before the show. No worries. I like it. Roscoe, can you hook me up with the Jew girl so I can get all the Jew money saving techniques? I wish I knew them. I don't know them. Senior extraordinaire, windmills are pointless. Just go nuclear for medium, high voltage, and solar for all homes. We can then use our coal and oil for cool cars. All right, good point. U.S. House Department Democrats oppose giving Biden power to ban TikTok. They want to ban TikTok. TikTok, it's gathering all of our information, and we can't have TikTok gathering all our information. We need American corporations gathering all of our information. If people are going to be gathering all the information about our kids and just showing them videos really quickly that gets them to dance and interested in all sorts of stupid shit, we can't have China controlling that. We need good old-fashioned American companies making sure that they have all your data and then showing you really quick videos from a specific algorithm to slowly alter your brain into just consumption and other behaviors. Trump can be sued for January 6 injuries, DOJ says. Let's give this one a read. Former President Donald Trump can be sued by injured Capitol Police and officers and Democratic lawmakers over the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, the Justice Department said Thursday in a federal court case testing Trump's legal vulnerability for a speech before the riot. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If there's anyone that shouldn't be allowed to sue, it would be the cops. You know why? Because it would be their own negligence that they had a problem. They're the only people that we give money and resources to so that they can protect the rest of us. And if they're putting themselves into situations where they can't even protect themselves by a bunch of people walking around malls or otherwise, if they didn't take the proper precautions on that day to do their job properly, to then sue the guy who it's like, yeah, you guys are going to be in situations where there's problems. You got to be ready for, like, if there was anyone who couldn't sue, I don't understand how the cops get to sue. I also, if Donald Trump is responsible for the actions of those people, then why is anyone in jail? Can we get all the people out of jail? If Donald Trump is responsible for the actions, if the crowd is an entity by which Donald Trump's actions, they're not, you know what I mean? They're just an extension of Donald Trump. They're not their own individual entities. They didn't make their own decisions. They were led by Donald Trump. So then let's just hold Donald Trump responsible and get those people out of jail. I got mixed feelings about the January 6th stuff because it does seem like what Donald Trump did was pretty rotten. He's out there, and I guess he's got zero evidence. I mean, the whole election fraud thing, I'm a sucker for the storyline because you get more votes than ever. You get the mail-in ballots. You get shady dumps in the middle of the night. You get all these people who are working at these sites talking about Bugs Bunny getting tricked out for lunch and then shutting the doors. But then you get Donald Trump with this Dominion thing that seems to be, with Sidney Powell, seems to be total nonsense. He's meeting with his lawyer Eastman, and it seems like he's basically telling him, just come up with something for me. And everyone is going, hey, this makes no sense whatsoever. You can't do that. I got to be honest. Usually I get a crystal ball when it comes to these stories. I can understand things through and through. And when it comes to the election fraud stuff, I don't know, I'm pretty lost. It's seeming that Donald Trump did not want to lose and was like, just come up with something. Didn't have much of a plan. I guess he just thought that he was going to will his way into pretending like he won an election. He's like, I already willed my way into winning an election. That was fucking ridiculous. So I could probably just will my way into pretending like I won this one. How much different is it just willing your way into getting people to vote for you than just willing your way into pretending like you actually won the thing? And so he tries to come up with some legal theories. Everyone's telling him that that's nonsense, and he just keeps pushing with it. Then he gets in front of the crowd and he goes, "You guys got to go fight for me." I don't know that he used those exact words, and he certainly didn't tell anyone to go invade the building. That's what the FBI was doing. That's what they had. Also, if people can sue, does that mean that we can also delve into whether or not the FBI was opening up doors, was working with these groups beforehand, was provoking them? If Nancy Pelosi, I mean, do we get to also delve into those storylines? Wouldn't that be part of the lawsuit to discover whether or not any of those things were true? All right. Anyways, back to Trump. It seemed pretty rotten the way he turned his back on the January 6 people. Things got a little bit out of control, and then he just turned around and went, "Oh, that's terrible what those people did." I think he's changed his tune a little bit now, but he could have written some pardons. He could have done the honorable thing right then and there and said, "Hey, that got out of hand. I was being a little bit irresponsible. And while the actions of those individuals are those individuals, and that's never what I wanted, I also foresee that they're going to treat these people like terrorists, and some of them were just good, honest supporters of mine who were thinking that their country was being stolen from them based off of the words that I said. And so we're going to peacefully give the government over to Biden, and I'm going to help these people out." But a lawsuit from cops, that makes no fucking sense. All right, we got a couple more topics here. Oh, I thought that this was, maybe we'll come back to that one. We'll do that story last, and we'll come down from YouTube. Tennessee restricts drag shows, bans care for transgender youth. And I'm just pointing out that even the fact that they're calling it care, the fact that they're calling making permanent augmentation to kids for profit, caring for kids, the fact that there's, from what I've seen, no scientific evidence that you're helping even a substantial portion of the kids who you will be giving gender swaps for profit, unscientific augmentation to kids. Just the fact that that's being addressed in the media as care, like you might as well call putting people down assisted leaving, or taxes, or just cash alleviation programs. Torture is information release programs. That guy's burdened by the information that he has, and so we're torturing him so that we can free his burdensome spirit from the information that he's been withholding. It's an information release program. All right, I think I had one more story. Biden wants $1.6 billion to combat COVID aid fraud, which that's fantastic. You spent all this money, and now you're going, we need more money to try and get that other money back. We were wrong in the way that we spent that money, but if you can give us more money, we can at least recoup some of the money that we spent. You're going to end up giving it to someone who doesn't go and collect, and you go, "Ah, shit, we got fooled again. Oh, we really thought that this money was going to go to good purposes and be helpful." You're telling me the government, there's no profits in clawing it back? When the IRS goes out and they do collections, is that not a profit-making enterprise? You're telling me you got no division of lawyers in government that can go find the people that created PPE fraud and then end up making the money that they're clawing back and then using that money to go get more of the money back? You actually need more money to go chase the money that you just gave to random people in the name of, the panic and helping? I mean, that talk about that just going to the, we're the collection agency of America that has the lowest returns on going and re-getting that money. And then, can we send someone other than Blinken to negotiate? So now we got Blinken, and he's sitting down with the Russians. Another highlight. We'll see if this one's relevant at all. I told the foreign minister that no matter what else is happening in the world or in our relationship, the United States will always be ready to engage and act on strategic arms control, just as the United States and the Soviet Union did even at the height of the Cold War, Blinken added. I mean, talk about fucking nonsense. Hey, let's both fight each other, but let's agree that we're only going to fight in this way. And we're both going to have enough nukes that we can kill each other entirely at any point in time, but let's continue to work together on pretending like we're reducing the amount of nukes that we can use to kill each other. It's like agreeing not to kick each other in the balls when you're already having a fucking fight with guns. You can still shoot each other. What's the point? What's the point of it? Like, all right, well, if we're having a nuclear, as long as we're engaged in the nuclear reduction treaty, then we're moving towards what? Us both keeping enough nukes that we can just continue to nuke each other, and then we can continue to be in the fight where we pretend like we're not fighting each other and we don't get rid of the nukes, but let's get back to pretending like we're reducing the nukes. All right, and now let's come down from YouTube and we can cover this last story, because we like to be honorable, upstanding members of the YouTube community. And I don't want to offend anybody. All right, let's take a couple comments. William Schwant, more money to chase the money we misappropriated. Maybe give that to the crybabies with student loans. Or have a class in college where you train people to go after the PPE loan stuff, and then they can make back their own student debt. And that's how everyone ends up in the system. All right, we're coming down from YouTube. We're going to cover this last topic. Once more, RobbieTheFire.com. I got some tour dates every Wednesday in New York City. Trying to work on some new jokes, putting up some comics, having a fun time. We've been having some fans show up for that. That's a good old, it's been a good time. What else I got going on? I got Steamboat with Kyle Ruff coming up. Come skiing with me. Got a whole bunch of Davey Smith tour dates. And then, of course, you go to sheathunderwear.com. Get yourself the greatest underwear that's ever graced the balls of man. All right, let's